So welcome back. We can carry on from where we left last as far as our API implementation was concerned. We had did quite some work um, on our titles CRUD operations. We did insert, we did update, we also extracted the data, and what was left was for us to be able to delete so that we see how that works out. So I think I'll pick it up from there, then we can be able to carry on with that. I'll begin by sharing my screen. I don't know if my screen is visible. Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll open Visual Studio Code because that's our IDE. I will also open SQL which is our database UI. So sorry. SQL Yog. See here? For Visual Studio Code, I think okay, for this one, yeah, that's fine. We were talking about hospital. So this is where we were at. And I'll open our folder. That is recent hospital. This is where we were working. And I think if we just run our application back, so I can put them side by side. So open a browser window. These people are coming later. So I'll open here local hosts and I'll put here hospital view titles. So this is what we did last and it worked perfectly. So I think we'll focus on this. So I'll have this one staying on the right hand side and I'll have this one staying on the left hand side. Yeah, I think that's fair. That's okay. So we can be able to view both our code and output at the same time. So as I mentioned, we had created how to add a new title. We had did the validation where you could check whether somebody has provided, and as you started typing, it will be able to also tell you that the error is gone when I try to save and everything is fine. It will be able to work out. So of course, ideally, if something is already existing, it will not be able to add it, but if it's not existing, then it should be able to add it in the system. And also said you could edit it from here, where you could maybe say type teacher, and it will be able to update it and update the database and also update our user interface. So that's where we stopped at on our CRUD application. The next thing we needed to do was now to delete. So for purposes of deleting, you could actually implement or use what we call dialog boxes, or still you can use bootstrap models for that. So we're going to use a bootstrap model for that. We've seen how to use a bootstrap model for adding a new component. We can actually implement the same. So if I come back to my titles, rather my title here, I have the function for deleting. So I'll need to provide a reason for deleting over here, and of course the title to be deleted. So what I will do is I would open here bootstrap model. I could use the one, I could copy the one that I had written before, but I like using the raw template, so it makes my work a little bit easier. Guys were trying to join. Okay, there's nobody. So bootstrap model, I don't know why it's not coming out. Okay, till it's here. So we'll just get the model directly. This is how a model looks like, so I'll just copy it. I'll come back to my titles page. There this model for creating details. I can collapse it. Then I can create, maybe I can increase the font up a bit. Yeah, like that. So I can create here model for deleting title. Then I'll copy and paste the model like that. Of course, I will style it properly like that. Then that will go inside, and that will go inside, and that div, that will go inside, and that will go inside, and that will go inside. I'm just styling it so that I know where each and every section starts and where each and every section ends. It's a nicer way of handling things. So we said in the model, what we do first of all, we give it an ID. So I'll say ID equals delete title model, like that. Then here I can say confirm deletion. So of course the message here, I can ask you something like, are you sure you want to delete the title? Then you can give the title a name, of course, if you would like to. For now, I'll just assume we don't want to, but of course the buttons, I'll give them a class of button. I'll change the order because yes will be the default, and no would be the secondary. So I'll simply say delete title, something like that. I'll delete the title. Of course, not going to be primary. I'm going to give success green. I'm also going to make the buttons a little bit smaller. So this other one, I'm going to give it an outline of danger, which means it's going to have, it's not going to have, I want to separate visual hierarchy. They don't need to be the same color. So I need to change the visual hierarchy for that. Then I also make the button smaller. And of course, I'll simply say close, which is fine. So up to that point, I have a model. So are you sure you want to delete? Then I can give a reason here. So the reason here would be, I'll put a form group. Actually, I don't need to ask. I simply need to say here, provide deletion reason. Provide deletion reason, something of that sort. So form group, then I'll put a label here. I'll simply say, actually, I don't even need a label. I'll simply need to put here, well, I could put a label and have this instead of having a paragraph, just to maintain standards. So I'll put label here for deletion reason. Then I'll put this text. Then now I'll go ahead and provide an input of type text with an ID of deletion reason, like that. Then I give it form control small. This is deletion reason for the name. I like using the name and ID as the same thing. So again, It's not a requirement that you use Bootstrap. I'm only using it for purposes of making our work easier so that you don't have to design all these things from scratch. So of course, when you click on delete, then I should be able to show this model. Then from there, I can go ahead and now click on save so that now the deletion actually happens. So what I would need to do is give this button an ID. Well, probably we can give it later, but first of all, let's just see how we can show the model when somebody clicks on delete. Again, just using the same method as edit, we're going to use event delegation, where we're going to listen to click of the table. When somebody clicks on something that is written delete, then it shows that model, asks us for a reason. Then of course from there we can go ahead and click on save or delete so that now the action is actually triggered. So I'll put a comment here and I say delete existing title. So I'll take my table, which is titles table. That's the name of the table, titles table, title table, title. Spelling. Titles table. When you click on it, look for something that has been created dynamically with the class of delete. Then execute the following callback function or anonymous function. So here I can't use this, and especially if I wanted to extract the ID. So here I'll declare const title ID equals, I'll get the element that was currently selected, which is this. Then I will get the closest table row. Then from the table row, I can get the data ID. So you can use data ID or that, or you can use something like atra. Then you say data ID, whichever is going to be easier for you, but I like using the data property, as you can see over here. So you can still do that, or you can use this. Either way, it's going to work out. So of course, I always like to test if that is working. So I can say console.log title ID, just to confirm that it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. And of course, while it's doing that, I can declare the model up here. So I can say, a constant here. But by the way, you can put all your constants at the top. It doesn't really matter. The scope is what's important. As you can see, this constant is not tied to any particular block level element. It's universal across the entire page. So whether I put up or somewhere in the middle, so long as it's not within a function, it can be accessed from anywhere. So const, and I'll say const, maybe say this is delete title model, get element by ID. Then I'll get the ID of the model, which is this one. And of course, when I click on delete, as I'm showing the title ID, I just show the model show. So I just show my model so that now I'm just able to see that it's working. It might not implement, but it's actually working. So I will come here, press Control F5. Then I can open the inspect tool. I can come to my console. I just want to check that it is actually, when I click delete, it gives me the ID of what I've selected. So click on that. You can see it gives me the delete. And of course, it gives me, why do I have the title name? That's a bit crazy. Delete should have given me something else. So what did I do? Delete, that model is title details. Oh, that is title details. I was not supposed to pick title details. I was supposed to pick this delete model. This is what I was supposed to assign it to. Sorry about that. Right, so refresh, delete. So you can see confirm deletion, provide reason for deleting. Then you can delete the title or you can close. So yeah, so that works out. So that's 9. This other one is mod console. That's 2. That's 3. That's 10. So it actually works. So I have my title, so I can remove this. So the only thing I need to do is, because I can't access this title from outside, I might need to come back to my model over here and put a hidden field which will hold the value for me. So inside this model body, I'll put an input type hidden, and this is a practical use of why the hidden is important. Then I'll simply say delete title ID. Then delete title ID. It does not have a value as yet. We're going to give it a value. So then I'll just pick this again. Delete title ID field is equals to delete title ID. So I'm able to get it. So once I get the title, I will assign the title ID to the hidden field so that I know what I'm supposed to delete. So I'll save that, then I'll assign its value to now the title ID. So the title ID that I've constructed from here, I will assign it to that hidden field so that now I can be able to access it. Then of course, I'll also have the save button, delete title button. I'll give it an ID of delete title. So I can come to my user interface here. Then this button for delete, I'll give it an ID of delete title. Like that, delete title. So this delete title is what needs to be here, which is that perfect. So again, now we're going to listen to when you click on that delete button. Of course, you can give notification, delete notifications. So I'll give delete notification like that. Then I can come here and at the top here, I'll give delete notification. Is it notification or notifications? It's notification, okay? So now I have everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to when somebody clicks on this delete button. So delete title button, when you click on it, because I'm not going to refer to the current object, I can use a fat arrow like that. That will still work. Then I'll simply say reason would be, and this one needs to be a constant, reason would be, I'll pick whatever is, well, I didn't give it a name. So delete reason field is equals to, then I need to give this one delete reason. Actually, it's deletion reason. I already gave it the ID, so it will be deletion reason. So reason will be this delete reason field. I'll get its value. Then I can remove any leading or trailing spaces if the user has typed any, something like that. Then of course I'll validate if the user has provided the reason for deleting. So I'll say if reason is not equal to blank. If reason is not equal to blank, then I'll specify, or rather if reason is blank, then I can let errors here. Let errors is blank, and I'll simply say errors is equals to, well, let me, I'll create a div with class of alert info. Then I will close that div, and of course I'll give my message here. Well, I can put an icon with class of font awesome solid, font awesome info, circle, font awesome large, font awesome fixed width. Then I close the icon. Then of course I would put my text. Usually I would like to put them in lines where you can be able to see them like that. Then here I'll simply say please provide deletion reason first. So you tell the user what the issue is so that they know what the problem is. Then what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to take this notification, and I'll say HTML. I'll set this HTML to the errors. Then of course I'll place the focus to that field so that the user can be able to provide the reason. So I just want to make it user friendly. I'll say focus. So take the focus back to that field. Otherwise, if there was no error, then we could just go ahead and delete the title, so that now we are able to tell the user it was successful. So what you're going to do is you're going to use jQuery, and you're going to use the post method, because as you can see, when it comes to title operations, the delete is post. So when I say post delete title, it's a post method, so I have to use post. So post, then of course I'm going to give the URL. In this particular case, I'm going to go into controllers, then title operations.php. That's the first parameter. The second parameter is the payload. So in this particular case, I'll go with delete title is true. Then of course I can provide the reason and the title ID, which I have forgotten to pick. So I need to come here and say title ID will come from this delete title ID field value, like that. So when I was opening the model, I assigned the title ID to that field. So now I want to read that title ID from that field, because I can't read the data from the table directly. That's why I'm using that hidden field as an intermediary for storing that data when I am opening the model, so that after opening the model, I can go ahead and now read the data from the model itself. So with this one, when it is done, we're going to end up with some data. And of course, it can also fail for one reason or another. When it fails, we're going to end up with three things. We're going to have a response from the server. We're going to have the status of the error and the error itself. So we have these three things. So when it fails, we have those three things which we can be able to use. So if it fails, I'll just pick my deletion notification and I'll tell you why it failed. .html. I'll simply say, well, I can give an error here. Errors is equals to, I'll create a div with a class of alert, class of alert danger, then close the div. Then I'll try to add an icon, which is a font awesome icon with classes, font awesome solid, font awesome, not exclamation but times circle. Then also have font awesome large and font awesome fixed width. That. Then I'll close the icon. Then now I can output my message. I'll say sorry and error occurred. Then I will give you that error. In this particular case, it will be the response dot response text, the text of the response that came over. Then here I'll simply tell you display for me the errors. So if for some reason it failed to delete, whether the table is wrong, the query does not have the parameters that it requires, and all these kinds of stuff, then it will be able to tell you exactly what that error is, so that you can be able to go ahead and fix it. So that is if it fails. But if it succeeds, of course, I'm going to check if the data that came back is JSON. So I'll simply say if is JSON data, which means the data that came back is JSON. Do the following. First thing is data will be JSON.pass. Pass this data. Actually convert. You see, is JSON will only check the format if it's a JSON format, but passing it as a JSON object will convert it to an actual JSON object, from where now we can be able to process it. So I'll simply say if data.status is equal to success, then it means that it deleted successfully. Okay, so I can actually hide the model. So hide model. After you hide the model, sorry, you hide the model. After you hide the model, then you're going to also refresh the list so that you remove it from the list. Then you can display message. You can display deletion message. Now, I'm doing these things in this particular order because they matter. And because JavaScript is asynchronous, which means asynchronous means it does not execute everything in a straight line. It will execute what it can execute the fastest. So you really don't have an order of how things execute, but sometimes you want to keep control of how it actually does these things. So hiding the model will basically mean we take the model and hide it. So this model here, dot model, then I'll say hide. Then refresh the list. We already wrote the function. Now there's only one thing you're going to do here. There's only one thing you're going to do here. Get this table's title. Because we want it to be asynchronous. Asynchronous because one, we will be displaying some data at the top here when it's processing, getting the details, and then removing that data. But at the same time, we want to use the same location to show that the title has been deleted. So you can see that is going to create a conflict. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create what we call a deferred. So it's basically a promise. Then that promise, when it has fully resolved, is when I am able to do the other things that I want to do. So I can simply say here, const dfd or deferred equals jQuery, create a new deferred element like that. So this is basically a promise. So in a nutshell, I'm telling JavaScript or jQuery, create a promise, do everything. Once you're done doing whatever you're doing, tell me you're done. Then I can go ahead and do the next operation. Otherwise, if I don't do that, everything is going to execute in asynchronous mode. So I don't have control over what will finish first, what comes second, and so forth and so forth. So the message that I'm going to display to the user might be a bit confusing. That's why I am trying to organize it in such a way that execute this. When you're done, tell me you're done, then I can go ahead and execute the next instruction that I want. So here, once everything is okay, so when it is done here, I will resolve the deferred. So I'll say dfd.resolve. So only when it is resolved is when I will go ahead and now return the promise. So what I'm going to do here is I'll return a limited version of the deferred, which is the promise. So at this point, it will tell me I am done doing whatever I was supposed to do. And that's very, very important. So I've created a deferred. I have resolved the deferred. If everything is successful, then once that is done, I return a promise and say, I am done executing what I'm supposed to execute. Go ahead with the other thing you wanted to execute. That's why that's important. So when I come down here to refresh the list, I can call the refresh list this one. I can call this function here, and then I say when it is done executing, run the following callback or fat arrow. So only when this one has done executing, then I will display my message. Okay, so displaying my message would basically mean that I will take the notification, then I'll convert its HTML to, now I can say message equals, I put a div with a class of alert success. Then I can put an icon with the class of font awesome solid, font awesome check circle, font awesome large, and awesome fixed width. I close the icon. Then once I'm done, I'll say the title was deleted successfully, like that. So then of course I'll close my div. Can have it down here like that. So I'll close the div. I don't know if the first part I closed them. This one I did not close. Yeah, I closed it. So I think I've closed. I think I've tried to close all of them. This is the one that I think I forgot to close. Very important. Every time you open a div, ensure that you close it. So this div, ensure that you actually close it. Something like that. Now, of course, that should give me another notification. I'll simply display the message here, like that. So I'll show the message there. Then, of course, maybe if I want the message to only appear for 5 seconds, I can use JavaScript timeout, set timeout, set timeout, so that now after 5 seconds it goes away. So it will depend really on how you want to implement your UI. But I think so far that should enable us to be able to actually delete the any title that we have within our page. So we're going to test it, and if it has any errors, then we'll see how to remove them. So I'll just go back to the code again. I'll review, delete, that's fine, that's fine. It's good to usually read your code to check that everything is okay. So everything looks like it has checked properly. So well, probably maybe the only thing is when it is successful, this notification, what did I give the notification? These are title notifications, okay? Title notifications are here. So when you want to save, this is save notification. The other one is title notification. Yeah, so it's not notification, but it's title notification. So I just copy that and replace this notification with title notification, like that. Actually, where we are pressing it, you can see title notification is there. No, that one is not, that's not it. Yeah, it's actually title notification. That's actually it. Title notifications. Okay, that's it. So we can just refresh this. We can try to delete this feature. We can try to delete. It tells us to provide a reason. Of course, I did not implement when you're typing for the reason to disappear, but that's important. So let's just do that and say when you start typing on this. So here we'll say hide errors when typing reason for deletion. So that dot on input. Input is when somebody is inputting something on it. Run the following. I can use a callback function because I can use a fat arrow because I don't need to access the. I don't need to access the this element. So I'll simply take that .html and I'll assign it to blank. Or I can simply say empty. So for those who like using empty, I like using blank just to know that I'm doing the right thing. So I'll refresh this. I'll say delete the teacher. I'll put the reason. I'll simply say this was a test. So if everything is okay, it should delete. It should refresh the list, and it should tell me up here that the title was deleted successfully. So I'll say delete. There's a problem. So let me see on the network. Title operations. I'm not seeing any error, which is not a good thing because I needed to see what the error was like, and I think I know the reason why. So title ID has not been passed. title ID is actually there, but we're going to see. But I need to show the error here so that now you can be able to read it directly from the screen instead of from the console. So what I'll do here is when it's done, I'll put an else here because it was not a JSON object. So if it's JSON, actually it should be here. So if it is not a JSON object, then I'll just go ahead and I'll output it with this. So it's not going to be response, it's going to be just data. Because it's no longer a JSON object, it has executed successfully with no errors, of course, on the API side, but the server has returned an error, which makes it not a JSON object, and as such, that's why I want to be able to show it from here, like that. Sorry, like that. So I'll refresh this. I'll try to delete this. I'll say this was a test entry. So first of all, try to delete it without a reason. It asked me for a reason. Then I'll say this was a test entry. Then I'll try to delete. It gives me the error. Now I can be able to see the error clearly. It's telling me there is a syntax near this statement. So I just need to go to this statement, title operations.php, line number 20. Or, yeah, so I can do that, or I can go to title.php, line number 25, because I think this is where the error is coming from. So you can see it's very, very easy to debug when it comes to now displaying the error. So I know specifically where the error is coming from. And this will prove very useful when you want to narrow down to what error was caused with the application, why was it caused, where is it coming from, what is it, and stuff like that. So title.php, line number 25. I'll come to title.php. I'll come to line number 25, which is here. Then, so I have, you can see I missed a closing bracket here. So at the end here, I need to have a closing bracket. Actually, it's there. It's actually there. So I have title ID. I have reason. So this title ID is title ID and reason. Okay. So I think I have title ID, reason is there. So for delete title, so I come to title operations. For delete title ID is title ID. Undefined title ID. Let's see that. So console, network, delete, pick that, title ID, and that is title ID. So this is title, delete title. It looks fine. So what I could do here is echo title ID and title ID. Let me just see what it says. Title ID is blank. Okay. Why is it blank? And I have this title ID, this one. Paste it here. What did I miss out? Oh, there's an extra L here. There's an extra L here. So that's the reason why it was refusing to work. So sometimes you need also to be very careful as you type your code. So I'll remove that so it doesn't echo. So delete that title. You can see it has been deleted and teacher is no longer in my table. So I can remove mother. Well, if I bring this model, I should clear all these fields. So again, as you are typing your code. So these are the kind of cleanups that you would be doing as we move along. So as you can see, when I'm trying to delete, the error is still there and this value is still maintained, which is not a very good user experience. So what I'm going to do is, whenever I show that model, when somebody says delete, so I will clear any errors or notifications. Then I will also empty the reason field. Very important. So for that, I'll simply say delete notification.html, set it to blank, and then this delete reason field, the value is also equal to blank. So I'll close that, refresh my list, I'll delete further, I'll simply say the entry was invalid. I'll delete, father is not there, then I come and delete mother. You can see now the error is gone and the test is also gone. If I don't want to remember these reasons, I could simply come to these titles over here, and for this input, I'll simply say autocomplete off. So this is the HTML autocomplete is equals to off, like that. So refresh, Control F5, delete mother. Now I should not have it remember the things that I had typed in the past. So I also say this was our test entry. Something like that. So once you do that, now you can see they are gone. And even if I refresh, you're not going to see them. Once I delete, they are gone like that. So that is how we do CRUD operations as far as uh, uh, tying up our APIs and our databases are concerned. You can see this is actually quite very useful when it comes to writing an application, because what happens is I don't need to refresh this page. That's very, very important. I don't need to refresh the entire page. I only need to be able to use JavaScript to create animations, to do form validation, to fetch data remotely, to send data remotely, and update portions of the page. And this now gives our application the power to be able to only update portions of the documents that are necessary. And as I said, JavaScript is asynchronous, which means if I was to do so many operations, as you can see over here, there are so many operations that are going to happen, and I don't have control over which one executes first, which one executes last. But sometimes I want a certain behavior to be done. That's why I went ahead and declared a deferred over here. Then I resolved the deferred. Then I returned a promise telling me that I am done executing what needs to be done. So that at that point, when I want to return the data, like in this case over here, I will return the data, refresh the list, but only listen until it has finished executing. Then I can do the rest of the things that I want to do. That is a very, very important component that we need to understand. Now, I have used jQuery promise, not a JavaScript promise. So you can also use JavaScript promises. Of course, the implementation is a bit different, but I like how jQuery implemented theirs. Any question on how the CRUD operations for titles should be done? By now, you should now be able to identify entities, create your database, create your tables, define data types, create stored procedures, connect to the database, create models for your various entities with all the operations, like the CRUD operations generally, create, update, read, delete, and so on and so forth. Create your controllers, which now is initialize your database models. Then, of course, that's where your REST API endpoint is. Then call your REST API endpoint from your user interface to perform whatever operation is necessary. That is going to be a very clear-cut point of how you should be able to develop your application moving on into the future. Is there any question up to that point? Any question? You need to ask any questions because, as I said, when you're going to be writing your project, you're just going to be repeating exactly what I've done over and over again for different screen scenarios. And by the way, if you look at libraries like React or Angular or Vue or Rust or whatever it is, any JavaScript library, the whole idea is what I have explained here. You are able to create components, then you can be able to dynamically update the contents of the component within your page. You can be able to manage their states. Of course, I'm not managing state here, but you can manage state by binding data to some component, which means this data as actions are happening, then it's able to refresh on your screen, which is exactly what I have done here, only that now I am putting it on click event of certain components, but it's more or less the same idea that they have implemented. All right. I can give us another example of CRUD operation with cities. Were they cities or countries? I think it was countries. I think it was countries. So I can give us another example with countries so that we just reinforce um, how these systems work together. So from the database all the way to user interface, everything needs to work closely like that. All right. Do you do that? Or there's somebody who has a question? I'm not seeing anything on the chat, so it means that, and I'm not seeing any hands raised up, so it means we are good. Okay, it means we are good. So for titles, that is fine. You can be able to do the entire operation end to end. And I'm going to insist on that because that's going to be very, very important for us. Actually, I want you to go ahead and implement the one for countries. Because we didn't implement countries, let me just see, did we implement countries on this database? We have countries, yes. Yeah, we have countries, but we have save country, we have get countries, we have delete country, we have get country details. We don't have get country details, so we can come here and say sp get country details. Get country details. So you just need the country ID, which is integer, and you remove all these comments like that. And here you simply say select all fields from countries where country ID is equals to the country ID that are specified, like that. Then now I have all operations from the country. So maybe let's implement that just to reinforce our knowledge on how that works out. So again, come to the Project Explorer, come inside our models, create a new file, call it country.php. So for country, start a PHP file like that. Sorry. By the way, you don't need to close it, but opening it is a must. So here I'll simply say require once, because I require connection to the database, and then on the same path, so I'll say db.php. Remember, PHP. This database.php over here is the one that gives me connection to the database. And also, it is the one that allows me to be able to execute, sorry. It is the one that enables me to execute the various functions inside the database. Like it can connect, it can get data by executing a query, and it can convert for me that data into JSON format if I needed to output it to the browser. So that's why I'm including it, so that now I'm extending it. Actually, it's called extending it. And by extending it, it means that I am now able to get all the functionality of this. You've done object-oriented programming, you know what inheritance is. So with inheritance, it means that I can be able to get or extend properties of another class into the current class. That's how the implementation works. So for the countries here, once I include that file, I can simply say create a class called country that extends the database. You can only extend one at a time. Extends. You can only extend one at a time. So to save a country, I'll say function save country. Then maybe let me put a line here, blank line here. Function get countries. I have another function get country details. Of course, I'll need country ID for that. Then I'll have another function delete country, which I'll need country ID and reason for deleting it. So these are the operations I need for the country. So for save country, I'll come here. I'll come and say save country, alter. I'll pick this stored procedure with all its parameters, like that. I'll paste it inside here. So I'll say SQL is equals, I'll enclose that in brackets like that. I'll remove all the data types. I don't need the data types. I can hide this. So I need to save the country, I need at least these three. I need those three. Are they 3 or 4? I can remove this default because it's not a reserved word here. So I have that. So then I'll just say country ID is that. Country name is a string, like that. Dialing code is it a number? Yes, it's a number. So then the default, I'll remove these ones. Default is 1 or 0, so that's also a number. User ID is also a number. Then here I'll simply say this get data SQL. If everything is okay, return an array with status success and a message of country saved successfully. Then of course semicolon. Then I can go ahead and implement get countries again. I'll put my SQL statement and you have to have the word call here. MySQL requires you to have call like that. Then I go ahead and say get countries, which is here. So no parameters, I'll just say get countries like that. And to get countries, we're usually returning this data. So I'll say return this get JSON SQL. So again, get country details. I'll put SQL. I'll say call, and I'll say get country details, which is this one. Pick the stored procedure and all its parameters. Paste here. Remove data types. Enclose this in curly braces. It's a number, no single quotes. Then because you're returning the data, I simply say return this get JSON SQL. It will execute, will convert the data to JSON, give it back to you on the browser. Delete country. Again, I'm going to say here SQL equals call delete country. It's here. Pick all parameters. Paste here. Remove data types. Then these are the two that we require, the wrap there. Country ID is a number. Reason is a string. So single bracket, single quote. User ID is also number, like that. Then I do that. So here I'll simply say, because I'm not returning data, get data SQL, and simply say return status was success. Message country deleted successfully. All statements must be terminated with a semicolon, and I hope I have been able to terminate all of them. I'm usually very lazy sometimes with that, but I think this one looks okay. So those are the things that you can do as far as country is concerned. So I have created the country model. The next thing is to come to operations here and create the operations for the country. So a new file here, and I'll say country operations. I'm doing this because we are implementing MVC, or model view controller. So the model is the country, which is essentially our object and everything it can be able to do with all its properties. Then the operations is the controller, where now I'm deciding what action needs to be taken. I'm instantiating this particular model. Then I'm deciding what operation needs to be executed based on what the user wants to do. Then, of course, the view is the page with HTML and CSS and JavaScript, which now help me to now connect to the API and be able to execute. And by the way, what you're using here is REST API, which means that it's representational stateful data, which means it allows us to be able to send data in a certain format and get feedback in a certain format. You can read more about REST, because I'm assuming these are things that you had learned before in principles of programming, so we're just actually implementing them in code. So again, this is going to be a PHP file, like that, like that. I'll require once, or you can say include, depends on your interest. And I'll need to jump up one level, go into models, and get country.php, because this is where our model is. So once I load the model, I need to instantiate it. And to instantiate it, I'll simply say country equals new country. That will instantiate it, create a new instance of country. Then from there, I can decide what I want to do. So I'll say if is set post save country. If somebody says save country, so what I'll do here is I'll say country, then I'll simply store this one inside response, rather. Response equals country. Then I will execute this save country with all its variables. I usually do this because I want to know which variables are there. So I have country ID. So country ID equals post country ID. Country name equals post country name. Dialing code equals post dialing code. Then default equals post default. Then, of course, the rest is okay. It will execute that. Then once it's done, I'm going to simply say echo JSON encode the response. That should allow me to save the country. All right. So, and of course, I'm going to add all the other functionality for editing, deleting, and all that kind of stuff. So that's good. So we can now come up here into our views, create a new file, and call it countries.php. Put emmet, we put countries, like that. Then, of course, we're going to come to JavaScript here. Where is JavaScript here? And we create a new file, call it countries.js. Of course, inside these countries, we're going to include first of all, is Bootstrap. Then we also need font awesome. So here we link CSS. It's a style sheet. We will go inside plugins. Then inside plugins, we'll take Bootstrap. Then inside Bootstrap, we'll take bootstrap.css. It's actually here. You can check. So actually, there is CSS first, then bootstrap.css. It's there. So very important, you refer to the exact location to where it is. Then let's link font awesome. I think that's straightforward. So again, font awesome will say link. It's going to be a CSS file, and I'm going to go to plugins. I'm going to go into nothing, so all.css. Then I will include the Bootstrap JavaScript library here. So I'll simply say again script, which is source. So I'll simply say go inside, and this should be a level up from where we are. Others it won't work because they're not in the same folder. They're in different folders but at the same level. So again here I'm going to plugins, then I'll pick Bootstrap, then I'll pick JS, then I'll pick bootstrap.js. That's how you include the file. But before you include Bootstrap, you need to include jQuery because Bootstrap 4 requires jQuery. So you include jQuery. The order is very, very important. Otherwise, if you put it the other way around, it will not work because Bootstrap will need jQuery to work. If jQuery is not loaded by default, Bootstrap will not be able to work, especially the actions that it needs to do, like animations and things like that. So I'll go into plugins. Then I'll pick jQuery 3.6.1. So jQuery -3.6.1.js. I hope that's okay. So that should be able to tell our page that everything is fine. So what I'm going to do, just create a table here with a class of table, a small table, a striped table. Striped is, you can see the colors are alternating, they are zebras. So when you say table striped, that's when you get that effect. And you can also put table hover. Table hover is when I hover on an element, you can see the color becomes darker. So that's what table hover does. Then from there, I can create a t-head with th and maybe say 6 rows. Then I'll go up one level. Then I'll create now t-body. That is what the code that I've written, this is what it's going to create, as you can see over there. So when you know how to use Emmet, you can actually type your code very, very fast. So that is the number. That is the country name. That's the dialing code. That's the default. Yes or no. Then we have edit and delete. edit country. So I'll put an unbreaking space here. And again, MBSP here. So again, I'll just copy this and say this is delete country. Delete country like that. So then T-body doesn't have anything. Then I have a button here. So I'll have a button, which is a button. It's a small button. It has green color. It has an ID of add new country and a text add new country like that. So that is it, and I think that is okay. So what I could do is, instead of views then titles here, I can say countries.php. So yes, we have it. Of course, here I can put container fluid and enclose everything inside the container, just to give it some breathing space. I can close this. Yeah, like that. Refresh. They have a breathing space. And of course, for this table, I can now give it a margin top of maybe say 3, just to move it slightly downwards, like that. So I think that is it. So now we can add a plus here. So remember we said we could usually add icons. So we can say here, put an icon which is font awesome solid. Sorry, I dot font awesome solid, font awesome plus, font awesome large, font awesome fixed width, like that. That should give me an icon. Refresh. Now I have the plus icon. Well, I can make it smaller or medium. Yeah, I think that makes much better sense that way. So of course, when I click this, I need to be able to show the model for the country. So I'll come, pick the model code over here, and I'll put it just below body here. Then I'll simply say model for country details. So I'll put the model. I usually like styling it up nicely. So inside, content is also inside. So that's how you factory model. Then these items are inside the model head. These ones are inside the model body, and these ones are inside the model foot. So it's very important for you to do it like that, because I usually like seeing where everything is starting and it's ending, 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 starting and ending, starting and ending. Very, very important, because that way it makes it very easy for you to be able to determine if there is a styling issue, what is actually causing the styling issue. Again, for models, we usually give them IDs, and we say this is ID is equals country details model. Then, of course, here I'll say country details. Then the buttons, I'm going to switch them up. So save is going to go before close. That, of course, this will be green in color, success. This one will be outline danger. And all of them, I need to make them smaller. So also this one, smaller, like that. So, well, then now I can now be able to output the fields that I want, which is country ID. So I'll put notifications first of all. So country details notifications. So that will be the notification. Then I'll put input. It's a hidden. Then I'll have ID, which is country ID. It's going to hold for me country ID. The user does not need to see that. That's why it's hidden, just like we did in the previous example. Then I'll give it a value of 0. By default, I'm assuming we'll always be creating a new country. Then after that, now I can start my input field. So input fields form group. I'll put a label for country name. So this is country name. I'll put an input of type text, which is the default, ID country name, with a few classes, form control, and I want a smaller version of it, so form control SM. These are bootstrap classes, so this is country name. If you're using Tailwind or your own class or your own CSS classes, you can still be able to go ahead with that. So I have country name. Then next I have dialing code, so form group. Div is the default element, so if I don't put div, I just give the class name with a dot, it will automatically know that I want to put a div. So that's why you see I'm just typing dot form group, not from group, it is form group. Form, not from. Okay? And as you're adding all those classes, always make sure that it is form and not from. Yeah, that's form. So here I'll have another label. And this one will be count dialing code. Here, dialing code. So I'll put an input here of type number, because dialing code is a number. Then I'll simply put here dialing code. I'll give a few classes, form group, form control rather, and a small version of it. So I have here dialing code. Is it the default? So we're also going to give that. So dot form group label default. So I'll put here default. Now, what control you want to use for default? You can use a toggle button, you can use a checkbox, you can use a drop down. It all depends on how you want it to look like. For my case, I'll just use a drop down list. So I'll use here a select with an ID of default with a class of form control SM. So that will be default. Now, of course, for select, we need to give it options. So I can come here and give an option that says the value is blank, but I'm going to make it disabled. And I'll say it's the one that is selected by default. So I'll simply say LT, choose one, and GT. It's just going to be a label that somebody cannot select. Option, the value is 1, default is yes. Actually, the default should be no. Option, the value is 0, no. So that kind of a thing, that should give me now the fields that I want. I needed the 3 fields. I actually needed 4, but I already have 3. Of course, the 4th one is the country ID, which is hidden. So now let's display the model and see how it looks like. So I'll pick this. I'll come back to my countries.js. I'll simply say jQuery. Listen to when the document is ready and execute the following function. You could still use a fat arrow there. Instead of doing that, you could still do this. So this means execute this function when the document has been ready. So I'll say const add new country button will refer to this. Then country details model will point to this. Just need to indent this one inside this one. Then, of course, add an event listener for this to show the model. Display country details model. So what I would say is when that is clicked on, execute the following callback function, which means just take this model and show it. Show, like that. If I come back here and I refresh this and I click on that, well, it's not working, so I'll need to check. Could it be an issue with the bootstrap.js is not found? So plugins, bootstrap.js, bootstrap.js. Okay. So let's see. So bootstrap, there is JS. So probably maybe it's spelling mistake. It's plugins. It's actually bootstrap, not bootstrap. Bootstrap. So that was a mistake. It's not there. This is also not working. So it means that probably let's check our IDs. So add new country. That's how I call it here. Add new country. Well, I can console.log here to show it's clicked rather. Refresh. It's not clicking. That's not it. Oh, it means that I have not included, and this is document. It means that I have not included this file inside countries. That was my mistake. I need to include it inside here. So script source, go inside JavaScript and load countries.js. Usually I like testing one by one. Now you can see it is working fine. So I have the country name, the dialing code, and of course I can choose the default whether it is yes or no. So from there, I can be able to do my validation and be able to save the country. That's a mouthful, right? But ideally, I'm just trying to show you how you actually implement your user interface with your code. So you just give me a minute. I'll be right back in about 30 seconds. Just bear with me so that I can be able to conclude this portion. Okay, so let's go ahead and implement this so that we are able to see how that works out. So we're going to come here and say save country. So const country ID field will pick it. I think it's country ID. Then you're going to say country name field will be country name. Then we also have dialing code field, dialing code field will be dialing code. Dialing code, I hope that's how we've written it. Then default field will be default. Then country details notifications will be, I don't know how we label it. Then we have save country button will be save country, I hope. So we can just check save country. Did we give it an ID here? We didn't, but we need to give this one an ID that says save country. Then I think the rest are okay. Default is okay, dialing code is okay, country name, country ID, notification is here. So I'll put that here. Of course, then I will listen to when somebody clicks on save country. So when I say save country button, when you click on it, run the following function. So I'll declare my variable calls country ID will be country ID field dot value, country name will be country name field dot value, then remove any spaces left or right. Then we have dialing code will be dialing code field dot value dot remove any spaces. Then we have default will be default field dot value default is a keyword, so I can't use it like that. So I think that's basically all the 4 things that we need. So we just need to validate empty fields, and here I'll start with the country name. I'll say if country name, if country name is blank. What's happening today? If country name is blank, of course I'll declare an error here. Let errors is equals to blank. So I'll simply say errors is equals to please provide country name. Then we come here and say else if dialing code is blank. We also say errors is equals please provide dialing code, and of course else if default country is equals to blank, then I'll say errors equals please select default country status. So here I'm just going to check if errors is equals to blank, because that's where I started with it. It means that no error occurred, so everything is perfect. So I will save the data. Otherwise, if it's not blank, it means there were errors. So I'll say errors is equals to, I'll create a div with class of alert info. I'll add an icon with class of font awesome solid, font awesome info circle, font awesome large, or you can use 2x, make it 2 times bigger. Font awesome fixed width. So you can learn about the font awesome properties that are there, so that you can use them to enrich your user interface. And it's not only font awesome, you can even use bootstrap icons, you can use material icons. So there are quite a lot of icon packages out there that you can be able to use. I just prefer to use font awesome. So then what I will do here is I will output the error that was there. Then I close the div. Then of course I will simply come to these details notifications here, and I show you the error. Then I'll say this is errors. All of their errors, yeah. So that should show you the error. So otherwise, I'll pick this notification and say const message equals div class equals alert info. I'll close the div. I'll put okay. I'm supposed to use a template string. I was supposed to use a template string over here. That is a template string. It's the one that can allow you to now output things in multiple lines. So here I'll put an icon with a class of font awesome solid, font awesome hourglass, font awesome, twice the size of the icon, and font awesome fixed width. I'll close the icon and I'll say processing, please wait. Or you can say saving country, please wait. Then I can close my div. Like that, of course. Then I will take these and I'll output my message. I can let this one because I might want to reuse it later on. So then I'll need to now invoke the jQuery so that now it's able to send the data over to the server. So I'll say jQuery post. Post has 3 parameters. First one is URL, which is controllers. Then you also have this is country operations, the PHP. Then we need the payload, sorry, comma. We need the payload. The payload for country operations is save country with all the other parameters. So save country, we'll set that to true. Country ID, country name, dialing code, default. Then I'll say default country, because this is the field that we are passing here. This other one is the value. Because they're different, I have to give them. I couldn't have used default because default has a meaning in JavaScript. That's why that issue persisted. Then from this, when it is done, I'll get back some data which I can be able to now process. And of course, when it fails, I will be able to get the response, the status, and the error, from which I can now be able to process. So for that, I'll pick this. I'll say .html. Well, I can simply say errors equals div with a class of alert danger. Then I want to put an icon with a class of font awesome. So solid font awesome times circle font awesome twice the size font awesome fixed width. Then I close that. Then the message, this one will be errors, but of course I need to still output the message. I'll simply say here, sorry, an error occurred, and I'll give you the response text. So then once I'm done, I'll close my div. Always when you open a div, make sure you close it. When you open an icon, make sure you close it, and so forth and so forth. So that is when it fails. When it's successful, I simply check if it's JSON, this data. If always when it comes back as JSON from post, it means that it was successful, because that's the only way we can return JSON. Otherwise, we just return plain text. Right? So if that was successful, then we'll simply say data equals JSON.parse the data. Then we'll simply say if data.status was success, which we expect, then we'll now output this one .html let me just say message. Then I'll construct the message up here equals give a div with class of alert success, display an icon with class font awesome solid font awesome check circle font awesome twice the size font awesome fixed width. Then close the icon. Then now output the text. Simply say the country was saved successfully. Then I close the div. Like that. And I think that's fine. So what I could do is, next is to, once I save, I simply clear the field. But because I might use clear so many other times, I can add a button here for clear so that now it clears. I would want to just write as a function down here. So I can say here, function clear country fields. And again, this one will tell you why it was important for me to declare these fields as variables. So I'll simply say country ID field dot value, assign it to 0. Country name field dot value, assign to blank. Then dialing code field dot value is equals to blank, and default field dot value is equals to blank. Then I can focus on the country name. So country name field, and by the way, in JavaScript you don't have to write it twice. You can just chain it here. Well, I simply say focus. So what it will do is that after this one has executed, it still selects this item, then applies the next thing. So this is called chaining. So you can chain as long as you want. So that's another way of writing code. So usually if you go online, you'll see people writing code like this. This is basically chaining. So it means that for this one field, apply this part, which is value, then also apply this other portion. Then I'll just call this one over here before I display the errors. And that's basically it. So if everything was to happen properly, then this would allow me to be able to save the country. Let's see if it does that. If it doesn't, we debug and see which way forward. So I'll press Control F5. The only problem I think is if you are making any changes to this field, it's supposed to remove the error. So what I'm going to do is I can declare a field here, call it input fields, and this one will be input and select. So anything that's an input or select should be part of the input field. So what I'll do is I'll simply say clear errors when changes are made to input fields. So I'll say input field dot on input, run the following function. So I'll simply say this notification .html is blank. That should be able to clear for all of them. Now I'm just waiting because I want for all the three, you should be able to clear the error as it comes instead of declaring them one by one. Again, a good practice on how you can be able to use the CSS selectors that we had done before. So this is kind of like how some of these things work out. Again, I will refresh this. I will add a new country. I'll say save. Provide country name. I'll simply say Madagascar. So you can see as I type, it goes away. Save. Ask me to provide dialing code. So I didn't set the focus on dialing code. I don't know why. So I should have simply say here, country name field dot focus. Then this one should be dialing code field dot focus. You want to give your users an easy job. This one will be default field dot focus. So whenever there's an error, just focus on that field to make it easier for the user. So if I don't provide that, country name dot focus, country name field. Okay. 5. Again, you will end up with those kinds of errors. So you can see it focuses on the country directly. I type Madagascar. That case takes me to dialing code. Please provide dialing code. I'll simply say dialing code for Madagascar is what? Should be 250 something. 261. So 261. So you can see it asks me, okay, the last one, country status. I don't know why the error is not shown, but let's say it's not the default country. Save it. It tells me is JSON is not a function. So it has saved this. So is JSON is not a function. Basically, it means that we didn't call the functions library here. So let's add the script and go to JavaScript, then go to functions.js. Remember, we said these are helper functions. Everything that's helper function is going to be inside JavaScript here, this one. So this is the one that checks. So we need to include that file so that that is automatically brought. So it's JSON, okay. F5, sorry. Actually, Madagascar has been saved. If you see it's checking that is JSON, it means that Madagascar has been saved. It's only that our code was bringing errors. Refresh this. Also, Madagascar wasn't saved. Let's add Madagascar 261. No. So we can go to network and check if everything is fine. Save. Country operations. Preview. There's an error. Well, we need to show what that error was on our page. So that's also very important for us to, so that we are able to read what the error is and see how we can be able to fix it rather than coming back to the console. That's what really I'm trying to stress on. So it tells us that it's not showing any errors over here, but let's come back to this. I can close this function. I don't need it. Come to countries here. And we are saying if it's JSON, otherwise if it is not JSON, then we just output it. Actually, this was wrongly placed. This should have been here. Here. That should have been there. This should have a closing bracket here. Then I need to copy this one here. The only difference is that the object is going to be just the data that comes back from the server, like that. So I'll refresh this. Sorry, refresh this. Add a new country, Madagascar, 261. No. Save. I have the error. It tells me. So you can see the exact same error I was having the other side is what I am having here. So it makes it easier for me to be able to check. So it tells me unexpected token on country operations line number 13. So country operations line number 13. Seems like I didn't close this. That semicolon was necessary. So save. It tells me unexpected token in class country.php line number 3. Country.php line number 3. So I needed to put a semicolon here. Now it's a thing that I know I have an issue with because I'm used to writing a lot of JavaScript. Sometimes I forget and imagine that PHP is also JavaScript. So that looks okay. Save it. It tells me county not found. So country number 4. This should be country. Now small mistakes. Again, as you can see, save. It tells me user ID. Variable user ID on line number 6 is not defined. So this should be this.user ID. Like that. So there are those small things that I'll make errors for. Undefined variable user ID country.php line number 6. Country.php line number 6. Save country. It's actually here. So usually you may not type perfect code, but now you can see it's okay. So everything looks fine. And of course, if I come back to my database, I should be able to see Madagascar. It's actually there and everything has checked out properly. So that is, in a nutshell, how we can be able to create a form with multiple fields and how you can send over those fields over your API. This is very important because I wanted to make sure that I show you how you can send over the data, even if you had 100 fields. It's all about how you're going to do validation and probably how you're sending the data over. But as you can see, it's important for us to be able to have this debugging skills so that now we know what error is there and how we can actually fix the error as we move along. So I have only done the add operations, the save operations. So maybe what you need to do is to go ahead and now implement the display of the countries in the table, edit them and delete them. Then you can try and do the other operations as we move along. Okay, so that will be our need for today, our class for today. I think I'll take a break at that. I'll give you an opportunity to ask for any questions, after which I will share this video and the code that you've written for purposes of your review in case you wanted to review what we have done so far. Any question up to that point? And as you can see, this is pretty easy. Once you practice over and over again, you just get used to it and you can be able to write that code very, very easily, very, very conveniently. Okay? So if you have any questions, you can ask. Well, if you don't have one right now and maybe you have one later, I'll be in campus. You can go ahead and come and check with me in case you need anything. Then we can move along with that. Is that okay? Any question or comment? So silence means consent. So in that case, I think we'll take a break at that. We meet again. I don't know when that is. Probably is it on Monday or is it on Friday? I don't know. But when we meet next time, I'll probably just try to walk you through how we can do the other parts of the application, see what we can be able to get and stuff like that. Maybe you want to filter this data by a country name, you want to filter by dialing code, by and such like stuff. We'll be able to see how to actually implement such like stuff. As you can see, when I put the icon as 2x, it becomes very, very big. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So you can use large, you can use medium, you can use 2x, you can use 3x. I mean, you can play with font awesome icon sizes however you'd like to. So that's your discretion. But in a nutshell, you can see it makes it very, very easy for us to be able to create dynamic, beautiful looking UIs without even doing a lot of work. So I'll take a break at that until we meet again. Have a wonderful rest of your morning. We'll meet again on Monday next week. All right.